Peace. This is a meat and potato social production starring myself, the Warrior Alchemist, and today's topic for the occult family is Anubis and the Sopath. So, exactly what is a Sopath? A Sopath, first of all, is a noun, and it essentially means a child born without a soul. Now, there's been, of course, a lot of debate, especially from Christians and other people of the Abrahamic religion camp, that thinks that it is impossible to be born without a soul. But there are a lot of myths and stories that counteract this, because we got to remember, none of these religions are over 2,000 years old. None of them, whether it be Al-Islam, Christianity, or Judaism. All of them do not surpass that. So, do you have soul paths here, children born without souls? I did some divination with Anubis, also known as Ampu of the Nether. And this was a question I put to him, and he answered it very promptly. He said, yes, human beings or children can be born without souls. And he offered this other stern warning. He said, and there are more children that will come to this plane and they will be born without souls. Now, people make this mistake thinking that, well, not only is that an impossibility, but if you don't have a soul, you can't be alive. Look here, Trox, wrong again. Your soul is the seat of consciousness, which comes from the source, and it cannot be corrupted. But your spirit, what is your spirit? Your spirit is breath, which animates the human body or the vessel. And can that spirit be corrupted? Absolutely. Now, in A.E. Waite's Holy Kabbalah, you have the Nefesh, the Neshama, and the Ruach. So one is the soul, one is the spirit, and one is the primal or animal nature. That's essentially it. And usually a lot of people will see characteristics that something is missing in a child, but they feel that they're going to love it out of them. Let me give you some examples. There was an episode in season 14 of Law and Order, Special Victims Unit, and it was called Born Sociopath. How this child, Jake O'Mara, who was at a military boarding school, was basically doing things that he just wanted to do. He didn't feel no conscience, didn't feel no remorse, and that's the Sopath. No conscience, no empathy, no remorse. And then when he finally got convicted for taking out the child of a psychiatrist, he had manipulated the psychiatrist for so long, the psychiatrist took pity on him. And it was only when they was in court, he found out this child done played me for a sucker all along. And after he took Jake out, because the mother was like, stay away from my son, stay away, don't come near us. The child, Jake, looked back and was like, got you, sucker. And that's when he took him out. And then later on, towards the end of it, he said something that really stood out to me. He said, you ain't got to worry, I'm never going to take anyone out again. But if Jake would have lived to adulthood, he would have kept on doing it. And we've seen this pattern with H.H. Holmes. We saw this pattern particularly with Dennis Rader, or the BTK killer. Now, on paper, look at him. He seemed like a good guy. Went to the military, served in the Air Force, was a deacon in the church, married, of course, worked as a park ranger, got a degree as an electrician. So on paper, he looks like a good guy. Except that everything he set up was nothing more than a clever ruse, a sham. And he couldn't stop it. He couldn't stop what was in. And there's a lot of myths. You can read one in particular from Zulu shaman, Babus Amazulu Credo Mutwa, who was a Sanusi. And he told a tale of this one child that kept his father around in particular until he reached adulthood. And he told him, because he was a Sopath, I had to keep you around because my powers hadn't manifested to the point that I didn't need you no more. So he let his own father know. And I'm going to say this to the grandmothers, grandfathers, or younger parents. I highly encourage you to watch anime. Here's why I say that. Because anime is nothing more than cartoons that are dedicated to the arcane. Why do I say this? There are children, I've did studies that have opened up their chakras watching Avatar The Last Airbender. But I want to take it to this particular movie. Broly the Super Saiyan. When there was a prophecy about Broly, Broly kept his father around until when? He ran to Goku, and Goku had a soul. Broly didn't. And that's when the spiral down began, the meltdown began. And then the conflict was inevitable. Psychiatrists, what they call a sopath, they'll call them a sociopath or psychopath. That's the quote unquote psychedic, the academic term, so to speak. I know. But the one thing about a sopath, and I'm going back to the episode of Law and Order, there are sometimes the children are sexually abused, and the parents or grandparents in particular, especially they got a hold of a grandson or a granddaughter, they'll act like it never happened. And I mean no disrespect to whoever this has happened to, but mentor got to be 100%. I would detest if I ever became anything other than that. And then grandparents or parents will blame the victim. You want to know why they do this? And let me say this before I give you the answer. It's not your fault. The reason that they do this is just like Jake O'Hara's mother, because they can't wrap their head around that they brought a monster into this world. That's why. You need to get over it. Let me say this to you, family. No one ever truly gets over anything. They go through it, and they learn to not let it destroy their future. That is something I want each and every one to ponder. So the soul path is an individual that's a child born without a soul, but they can have a spirit. So with that, that is your meat and potato sorcery for the day. I am the Water Alchemist. Be water, my friends. Peace.